Hello dear friends, I'm Samuel Moore and welcome to my Study with Samuel video series. So today, I'd like to talk about the flamenco palo, Fandango De Huelva. Fandango De Huelva is a medium to fast tempo flamenco form. Many categorise it as a 12-beat palo, but in many respects it's a lot more logical and straightforward to count it in 6. In other words, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In terms of its key, you can perform Fandango de Huelva in a number of keys, but most commonly it's performed por arriba, which basically means, from the point of view of its basic compás, the main chords you need to worry about are A minor, G, F Lydian, which is kind of a fancy way of saying an F bar chord but without the bar, and E, which is sometimes voiced as a dominant chord or a dominant flat 9. More on all that later. Now, as I've mentioned in previous videos, the purpose of this lesson series is not to teach you the whole performance structure of the fandango, nor is it to teach you falsettas or technique. We're principally interested in compás playing. In other words, the core rhythmic idea that you'll keep coming back to again and again. Over many years of teaching, I've noticed that students often struggle to vary their compás playing, and consequently they fall into the trap of looping round and around the same basic idea with little or no variation. This lesson will tackle this common issue head-on in the context of the Fandango de Huelva. What we're going to do is establish one core idea in the first half of the class, and in the second half we're going to look at different ways you can vary its component parts. With this in mind, let's start by establishing a core idea. This. So let's take a moment to unpack what's going on there. Let's start with the basics, the left hand. So, in many respects, it's quite simple. You're starting with the E7 chord, and you're moving from there on beat 3 to the A minor. You then stay there for the rest of that cycle of 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then in the second cycle of 6, you're moving from the G chord to the F Lydian chord to E. And that transition happens on beats 1, 2 and 3. In other words, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Meaning that the whole cycle, if you put it all together, sounds like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's worth mentioning at this stage that that last chord, the E, something a little bit more interesting happens there, as you saw when I did the little performance of the core idea earlier. But we're going to get to that later. For now, that's the basic chord structure you're working with. Now, at the moment, it just sounds like we're strumming around a chord progression. So let's now bring this hand into the mix to make what you're doing a little bit more interesting. So the start is relatively simple. When you're playing the E7 chord, all you're going to do is tap with this finger on the body of the guitar on beat 1, and then with the index finger go up, down, up. So in other words, 1 and 2 and. With the chord, 1, 2. Now on beat 3, where we change to the A minor, we're going to start by doing a down strike of the thumb combined with a golpe on the beat. And then on the and of the beat, we're going to do an up strike with the index finger. So put this with what you've got, and you get this. 1, 2, 3. On beat 4, we're going to do a 4-note rasgueado. So you bring the fingers into the palm of the hand, and it's down, 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 up. So basically 4. Put that with what you've already got. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then on 5 and 6, you're just going to use the index finger to go down, up. So it's just 5, 6. And on beat 5, use a golpe to accent the beat. 5, 6. All of that together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're now into the next cycle of 6, the bit that goes G, F, E. So what's happening here? Well, on the G chord, we're just going to go down and up with the index finger. Then when we move to the F chord, we're going to go down with the thumb combined with a golpe and an up strike with the index on the and. So that's 1, 2. And then on beat 3, open E string, rest stroke with the bass, rest stroke with the thumb, and then the index finger is going to catch the high E as a free stroke. So it's 3 and. Put that with what you've already got. 1, 2, 3. On beat 4, using this finger, we're going to tap the body. Now, what happens at the end? Well, this goes back to something I said a little while ago. Generally speaking, we're not going to use the E chord here. We're going to use a different voicing. We're going to use something called a dominant flat 9 chord. Don't be spooked by that very complex sounding name. It's not that difficult. Imagine you've just got a normal E7 chord. All you're going to do is use the pinky here to play D on the 2nd string, 3rd fret, thus doubling up the dominant 7 bit. And then the remaining finger, this one, is going to play F, which is the flat 9 of the chord. And there you have it, dominant 7, flat 9. So, to get to that, we've gone 1, 2, 3, 4, and as you tap, you've landed on the chord. Now, to conclude, what we're going to do is this. Now, this isn't a technique lesson, but I'm just going to explain very quickly what's happening here. All I'm doing is I'm using a slight rotation of my forearm and wrist to control an upwards and downwards movement. The thumb goes up, the fingers come down, the thumb goes up. And as you can see, it's kind of controlled by the rotation of the wrist. Up, down, up. Now the question is, where does this happen in the Compás? Because it often throws people. It's happening on the and of beat 4. So you're basically going 4, and then on the and you're going up, down. So it's 4 and. And the final up strike is beat 5. So if we take a run at that from the start of that half of the cycle, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And collectively, this gives you the basic Compás. I'll just demonstrate it by looping it once, and I'll do it quite slowly so you can see what's happening. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, top of the cycle. So before moving on, let's just loop this idea a couple of times just to get you used to playing it. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there you have it. That's the basic core idea we're going to be working with today. But I can't emphasize this enough. It's only going to get more complicated from here on in as we start looking at variations. With this in mind, do not move to the next part of the video until you're 100% happy with what we've just done. In other words, if you need to move back at any point and rework anything, now's the time to do it. Before we continue with today's lesson, I'd like to do a quick shout out to let you know about my new Patreon account. For those of you who've never come across Patreon before, Patreon is a unique crowdfunding platform that allows artists like myself to offer exclusive content in exchange for monthly pledges. Your generosity allows me to continue working as a full-time musician, and in exchange you get access to some really great material, from unseen tutorial videos similar to this one, to flamenco guitar lessons. You even get access to my weekly gathering, the Midweek Guitar Meet. This weekly study group takes place on Wednesday evenings and is a great opportunity to connect with a global community of like-minded musicians who share your passion, at the same time as getting targeted feedback from myself on a regular basis. So if all this sounds interesting to you, please click the link in the description below to access my Patreon page and select an option that works for you. I look forward to meeting you, connecting with you, and together continuing our musical journey. Now, however, let's get back to today's lesson. So, having now established our core idea, I'd like to look at different ways we can vary it. In order to do this, we're going to focus on different component parts of the Compás. We're going to start with the first 6 beats. In other words, the bit where you're going from the E7 to the A minor. We're going to look at a number of variations for that part of the phrase, and then once we've done that, we're going to look at different ways you can connect the second half of the Compás with the first half. In other words, better ways that you can get from this bit to this bit. The final thing we're going to do is look at ways to vary the section that goes G, F, E. So in total, this will give you a number of interesting ways to make your Compás playing more interesting. Let's start with the basics. Let's just have a look at moving from the E7 chord to the A minor chord. We'll build in complexity as we go through this. So, the first thing we're going to look at is a very simple variation. Everything essentially stays the same apart from beat 4. Previously on beat 4, we used a 4-note rasgueado. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to replace that with a 5-note rasgueado. So instead of coming to this position, we're going to come to this position and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, in other words, your original idea was this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's now going to sound like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Very simple, but rhythmically very interesting. So that's just one option for varying this section. Let's look at another. In addition to changing the type of rasgueado you're using, you can use more than one. So for example, if we're using the 4-note rasgueado on beat 4, we could carry it on beat 5. So instead of going 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5 and 6 and, we're going to go 4E and 5E and 6 and. It's quite difficult to say that one. But basically, I'll demonstrate with the hand pattern. Instead of going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And you can hear how I put the golpe on 6. So in other words, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Similarly, you can do it with the other type of rasgueado. So you could do the same thing, but with the 5-note rasgueado instead of the 4. In other words, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you can see how very quickly, just by changing one concept, you can get lots of variation options very quickly. You could also make your rasgueado a little bit more syncopated. So a classic way of doing this is you start as normal. 1, 2, 3, and then on beat 4, you're going to do a pull-off from C to B. So in other words, this finger will pull off. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then what we're going to do is a 3-note rasgueado. Down, down, and this final beat lands you on beat 5. So in other words, it's going to go 4 and 5. Okay? If I put that with what you've got, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you just carry on as you would normally. You just go 5 and 6 and. So you just mark time on the downbeats and the upbeats for the rest of the cycle, thus giving you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Again, it's a very simple idea and slightly syncopated and very effective. Let's look at one more idea for this section of the Compás. And it's one of those phrases that everyone always loves when they hear it. I often jokingly refer to it as the horse galloping phrase. It's this one. And you can see why I call it that. It has that kind of bounce and flow to it. It's quite simple to play at a basic level. On beat 1, you're going to tap as normal. But then it changes. We're coming to this 3-finger rasgueado, down, 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 the one that leads into the beat. So we've basically gone tap, and then we're going to go and 1. Okay? So it's and 2. So 1 and 2. Okay? Tap, down, 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 and that down strike is beat 2. 1 and 2. And then you do the same again, and 3. But crucially, you're changing chord partway through that. So on the tap, you're on the E chord, and then you do on that chord, and then for the next one, you change chord. So it's basically 1, 2, 3. I'll do that again. 1 and 2 and 3. Then on beat 4, tap the body of the guitar with this finger. And this is where the fiddly bit happens. This thing. So what's basically happening here, if I say the numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and 6, and. You can hear how I'm emphasising the and a little bit. So what's happening is after you tap, you bring this finger, the pinky, onto the D, whilst holding the chord. And on the and of 4, you do an up strike with the index finger. And then pull off D to C, C to B. So it's... and then you put the finger back and do a down strike on the beat. So it's basically 4 and 5. You then do the same thing again, and 6. So from beat 4, that's 4 and 5 and 6. And then on the end of beat 6, we just do an up strike with the index finger. In total, this gives you this phrase. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If I do it a little quicker, it's a really beautiful phrase and can work really well as a contrast to some of the ideas you've previously done. Now at this stage, it's just worth saying this. Any of the ideas that you've just learnt will work with the second half of the phrase that you learnt in the core idea. In other words, any of these will work with the bit that goes. Question is though, let's say we've just played that phrase. If we want to start in a more sophisticated way than we previously have, how do we do it? In other words, let's say we want to link this more effectively with one of these ideas. How do we do it? Well, I'm going to show you two options. The first one will work very effectively with any idea that would normally be this sort of thing. 1, 2, 3. Okay? So the majority of the phrases you previously have learnt, this is what you can use if you want to get into it more cleanly. We'll worry about the horse galloping one later. For now, let's just focus on the simple one. So let's say you want to get into any of the classic phrases in a more sophisticated way. You just play this phrase as normal. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But then we're going to tap on beat 6. And then on the end of beat 6, you're going to bring this finger, the index, round here to F. And you're going to do an up strike on the end of 6 and pull off. So basically what you've got so far is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then on 1, do a down strike. And then on the end of 1, do the pull-off phrase again with the up strike, and then down strike on 2. In other words, this may sound confusing, but it's not really. All we're doing is going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 1, and 2, and that drops you in onto beat 3. So you see what I mean? We're essentially linking the second half of the phrase with the first one in a slightly more sophisticated way. In other words, we're creating a springboard between the two phrases rather than what we did before, which was having a definitive full stop. So that's one way to get into the Compás again after you close. But let's say you want to go into this phrase, the horse galloping phrase. How can we do that effectively? Well, it's a very similar idea. You finish as normal. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then tap on 6. And then you're simply going to do an up strike on the end of 6 and pull off with the pinky from D to the open B. So it's basically 3, 4, 5, 6, and then on beat 1, just do a down strike with the index finger. So what you get is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 1. And that allows you to drop in with the da-da-da-da-da-da bit. So that's what comes afterwards. So if I put that together, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 1, and 2, and 3, and then you carry on as normal. So they're just two very sophisticated and fun ways that you can basically connect the two halves of the compass together in a very effective way. Let me summarise what we've done so far. We've basically looked at ways to vary beats 1 to 6 of the opening section of the compass. And then we've looked at different ways that we can link this bit with the first bit. But we've missed an important bit, haven't we? We've not yet looked at how to vary G, F, E. Let me show you one really exciting one for this. What we're going to do is completely ignore G. So we're no longer going to go G, F, E. We're just going to go F, E. So no G at all. And the thing that's going to make this interesting is we're going to put the F not on beat 2, but on the end of beat 1. So we're basically going to go 1 and you saw what I did there. I did a down strike with the thumb combined with a golpe. So in other words, if you were to come out of the previous phrase, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1 and 2. And then you simply carry on as normal. 3, 4, 5, 6. And any of the variations to link the next two can work there, or you can just have the standard full stop. But effectively, if I just loop that idea, you'll see how effective this offbeat F. You can see how interesting it is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 5, 6. It's a lovely way to vary that part of the compass. So there you have it, guys. That's the main material I want you to look at today. And as I often say in these videos, I would warmly encourage you to make sure you know each component part and each variation very, very well before you start trying to randomize the order. In other words, don't just jump in straight away and try to vary it before you know what you're doing. Get each one so you understand what's happening and you know how to use it before you actually try to make it a big random composition of ideas. But if in time you're able to do that, this can make your compass playing sound really professional. As always, I'm going to conclude today's video by demonstrating what happens when you start to put all this together. Here we go. Well, my friends, I'm afraid that's all we have time for today. But if you enjoyed today's video, please subscribe to my YouTube channel and hit the bell icon to receive notifications. There'll be more videos coming soon. If you're interested in studying with me on a more one-to-one basis, you can book Zoom and Skype lessons via my website. A link is in the description below. Until we next see each other, however, you stay safe, and as always, thank you for watching.